Welcome to Deep Dive with the Boss. I just wanted to let you know that I hope you have a wonderful, fantastic, positive day.
Yo, what up, though? This is episode 1 of Deep Dive with the Boss. I'm your host, Detroit Boss 313. I've been in YouTube jail for about a week, but it allowed me the opportunity to do a little bit of research, and we kind of want to look at the origins of the conservative party and conservative ideology, and we'll do a little deep dive here.
God bless our heroes.
Let's go back to Germany, right? Let's go in Germany today. If you go to Germany today, you fly the flag of a Nazi, you go to jail. In America, you fly a Confederate flag, you can run for Speaker of the House. We've been told that healing a nation or moving past a problem requires moving on. If you're too harsh on the losers, you create a permanent enemy. But if you look at the structural architecture of history, like, accountability isn't a burden, it's an engine for progress. Let's go to 1945, right? If you, the world looked at Germany, they didn't see a partner for peace. So, after World War II, Europe, America, all these places, we didn't see a partner for peace in Germany. We saw a machine that needed to be dismantled so a better one could be built. This is called, in this case, denazification. They didn't go around burning books. It's a process, right? It's called lustration. This is the legal removal of every official from the old regime, from the Nazi regime. They're removed from the courts, the schools, and the bureaucracy. Overall, during this process in Germany, 8.5 million party members, they were removed from every job that influenced the public mind. In the 1950s, right, they had the economic miracle. In German, it's called Wirtschaftswunder. They transformed from literally a pile of rocks, because they were totally destroyed in World War II, into a global superpower in one generation. What they did was they cleared the tracks. They didn't have a secession party in their ear telling them to look backward. They didn't have the Daughters of the Confederacy putting up statues and misrepresenting history to make the traitors and the losers look like heroes. They didn't have a shadow government trying to reboot the 1940s. They focused 100% of their national energy on innovation, because they had the courage to rip out the progress break and throw it in the trash. When I say progress break, I'm saying this is like a brake on progress. This is somebody grabbing on or pushing a brake to stop the progress of a nation. Now, if we look at America in 1965, unfortunately, we did the exact opposite. We had our version of the economic miracle. We had a plan for America to move forward in a positive manner. It was called the Freedmen's Bureau. How the Freedmen's Bureau worked was, it was like an operating system, but it was like a social operating system. It established 4,000 schools. It created a public education system where none existed. It served as the federal court system using the army to enforce labor contracts. It was working. Black men went from the cotton field to Congress. They were being elected to the Senate. We were building a high participation superpower that would have outpaced any other country in the world at about 1890. The thing is that the conservative Confederates didn't go away. They campaigned. What they did was they convinced the North to agree to the 1872 Amnesty Act. This was a legal pardon that returned political rights to 150,000 former Nazis, Confederates, or conservatives. We invited the enemy into the engine room. We gave the keys to the bureaucracy back to the people who had the inclination for treason. Because slavery was horrible, right? Slavery ended. Then we had Reconstruction, and that was this time period where the policies of the Freedmen Act were put in place. Black Americans were flourishing, but then America betrayed the Black American with a thing called the 1876 Compromise. There was a controversy with the presidents, and the North wanted to get their guy into the White House. So they made a deal with the South. They said, look, you give us the president, because what was happening is the North had troops in the South to guarantee the civil liberties of Black Americans. But with the presidential controversy, they made a deal. They said, look, give us the presidency, we'll pull the troops out. We'll stop protecting Black citizens. That's how we get 100 years of Jim Crow, rise of the KKK, lynchings. All of these things were going on because of this compromise that the North made to betray Black America. In Germany, you had Nuremberg trials. The losers went and got executed. In America, they went to Senate, to the Judiciary Committee. They started writing laws. If we look around and it seems like America's just stuck in the mud, like, we gotta stop looking at political parties. We gotta look at the anatomy of the sabotage. We gotta go back to 1830 because we gotta look at the past to understand the present. It was a guy named John C. Calhoun. He developed a doctrine called nullification. He didn't just want to keep slavery. He wanted to build a legal framework that would allow a minority of elites to veto the progress of the entire nation. His logic was very simple. He said, look, if a state doesn't like a federal law, the state can just declare it null and void. We fought an entire war to kill that idea, but because we didn't do denazification or lustration, the idea just represented itself. It wasn't a thing. It became part of the conversation. It became part of the lexicon. So today, what they do is it's a marketing rebranding. They'll call it state sovereignty or preemption, but it's the same mechanism. Whenever you hear conservative politicians scream about federal overreach, they're talking about the right to hold on to that progress break to stop America from moving forward. The losers are making the rules. The enemies are making the rules. The Nazis are deciding how the country is going to move forward. Here's an example, right? Let's go to Birmingham, Alabama, 2016. You got a Black-led city, and what they did was they passed an ordinance to raise the minimum wage to $10 an hour, $10.10 per hour. This is a modest increase. This is a little bit of help for the working class. The conservatives in the state legislature, they saw a threat to their hierarchy. Within 16 days, they rushed through a preemption bill and they nullified it. They would rather the entire state stay poor than let a Black-led city prove that higher wages can work. It's a psychosis. It's a zero-sum psychosis. If I got to share a superpower with Black people, I'd rather just destroy the superpower. They're not conserving anything. They're like a terrorist cell of Confederates, making sure that the U.S. never becomes the integrated superpower that it was meant to be. This situation is not about feelings, you know what I'm saying? This is economic as well. The San Francisco Federal Reserve, they came to the conclusion that racial inequity has cost the U.S. economy $51 trillion in lost output since 1990. $51 trillion. Hold on one second. We're going to pause for the cause because I want to see the current national debt. Oh, the current national debt is $38 trillion. And so racial inequity has lost 51 trillion since 1990. That far exceeds the national debt. You stop being fucking racist, we can have a solvent country. But they're the party of fiscal responsibility, right? You see, the thing is this, right? The thought process is that we don't know who the next Einstein is. The next Einstein could be in Detroit, could be in Chicago, Atlanta, Washington, D.C., Oakland. But the thing is that we got the structural racism where these individuals don't have an opportunity to reach their potential. So we never find out who the next Einstein is. The next Einstein could be, sitting in jail somewhere. There's a study, right? And so children from high-income families, they're 10 times more likely to become inventors than those from low-income families, even when they have the same test scores. Because if you're from a more affluent or economically stable background, you have the opportunity to do other things. You could be an Einstein just working at the post office because you're just trying to pay bills. And so it's a situation where we disenfranchise this group of people, we lose the opportunity to have these great brains or minds who could be solving some problems that benefit everybody. Let's say the person who could have solved clean energy is born in Detroit, Chicago, Washington, D.C., whatever. The Confederate conservative ideology has been nullifying the opportunity for those individuals to be seen. The whole country loses. What we're doing is we're deleting our own future to protect like a 1800s social hierarchy. Now, how do I get a person who's working class, don't have the greatest education, how do I get them to vote MAGA? What they do is they use what we discussed earlier, zero-sum psychosis. An example of this is like in the 1950s, right? Neighborhoods and communities had these big, beautiful swimming pools. There were public swimming pools, everybody could go, except black people. What happened is at some point, they were ordered to be integrated. So instead of people, and these working class people, instead of them enjoying the free, beautiful swimming pools with other working class people who happen to be black, what they did was they drained the pools. They filled them up with concrete. They would rather their family not be able to swim. Nobody gets to swim if we got to swim with those guys, with them black folks. And so they rob themselves just to make sure that other people can't enjoy what they enjoy. Zero-sum psychosis. There's a gentleman named Lee Atwater. He was a GOP strategist. And he was at a dinner. And he made a mistake and told the truth out loud. He says, you start off in 1954 saying nigger, nigger, nigger. But 1968, you can't say nigger, nigger, nigger. So you say stuff like forced busing, states' rights. You're talking about cutting taxes, and all these things sound like they're totally economic things. But the byproduct of them is that the blacks get hurt worse than the whites. This is them saying it out loud. He made a mistake. I don't know if he knew he was recorded or not, but he told the truth. They're not conserving your money. They're using economics to stagnate the country. They know that if they defund the schools, clinics, etc., the byproduct is that black people are going to get hit the hardest. Poor people are going to get hit the hardest. But they don't care if white poor people suffer as long as black poor people are suffering worse. They're willing to stagnate the whole country just to keep a social hierarchy. This is not a thing that's, this is not a thing that's just purely American, right? So then we got to look internationally to see if there's other examples of this. You have a problem in your country. You defeat the problem. Do you let the problem stick around, or do you totally get rid of the problem? There's a country called Estonia. In 1991, they performed lustration. They removed every official from the old Soviet regime. Today, they're a tech superpower because they cleared the past in order to build the future. So that's a success story. Now let's look at somebody who did it wrong, because America did it wrong. Let's find another country that did it wrong. Look at South Africa. 1994, they had the reconciliation, right? But with their reconciliation, we don't talk about how they granted economic amnesty. They changed the flag, and that's cute, but they left the land and the banks in the hands of the apartheid architects. The same individuals who committed the atrocities in South Africa are the ones who control the land and the banks. South Africa is considered the most unequal country on earth. Like, yeah, you want an opportunity to vote, but the people who were your enemies are still in control of the land and the banks. Okay, so another example is Chile, right? It's a guy named Pinochet. When he left office, he left behind a constitution, right? 1980 constitution. This was a legal framework designed to let his followers veto any law that threatened their power. It was like an authoritarian cage, and it blocked progress for like 30 years. In America, what we did was we invited the enemy, the conservative, the Confederate. They're the enemy to American progress. We invited them back in 1872. Men like James Eastland. He bragged about killing 100 civil rights bills. He ran committees that decided your taxes. Like, it wasn't like a ghost in the room. He writing laws. Reconciliation without accountability is just an opportunity for the enemy to reload. They were never held accountable, so they don't think they did anything wrong. They think they were bullied. The northern aggression, South gonna rise again. All they did was just turn from Confederates to conservatives to Republicans, and look at where it gets us now. Like, they've been telling us for the last 160 years, right? That the solution is bipartisanship. How the fuck you compromise with a Nazi? How do you compromise with a Confederate who was willing to go to war to keep slaves, to steal their labor? They were raping little girls during slavery. How do you compromise with a person who's willing to go to war to protect his ability to rape children? Can't compromise with that. And then that's what we're dealing with here. The Confederate Party, the Confederacy, turned to conservatives, and now we're supposed to do bipartisanship when the core of this ideology started with people who wanted to rape little girls? How do you compromise with that? Here's an analogy. Like, the idea that we're gonna meet in the middle with a Confederate, okay, cool. So I'm on one side pushing the gas for progress, you're on the other side pushing the brake. Meeting in the middle just means you stand still and the engine overheat. You're not making any progress. America's not a failed experiment, man. It's one that's been undermined. We're a nation of lost Einsteins, man, that's being trapped in a system designed by the enemy, designed by the Nazi, designed by the Confederate. We have to have some type of structural reset. And the thing is this, that Einstein that creates clean energy, the Einstein that, changes the world, it could be a poor white person. in a trailer park some goddamn where. They're getting fucked by the same policies, but the policies are designed to fuck over black folk, but white poor people just happen to be collateral damage. We're not giving ourselves the opportunity to move forward and reach our potential because we're playing these games based off 1800s rules of the 1800s. We got to stop pretending, man, that MAGA, Confederacy, conservatism is a partner in American progress. Like the core DNA of conservatism, MAGA, whatever, is a Confederacy. Like, we're going to continue to pay a tax for being stagnated on what our potential can reach. They would rather rule a graveyard than share a superpower. I hope you made it this long. I definitely want to see, different opinions, or maybe it's something I missed, or maybe, the way I'm looking at this may be incorrect. Let's discuss in the comments. We can always schedule a time to go live. I had this conversation in real time, but currently, man, I just see the MAGA, conservatism, the Republican Party in its current iteration. It's just Confederates. It's just marketing and rebranding for Confederates. And how can a Confederate be America first when he's a Confederate? That's the name of a different country. But so I'll catch y'all next time. Thank you for checking us out. Share, subscribe, all that good shit. Thank you for watching.